Okay. Today we're gonna have a revision on new chapters 4, 6, and 7 that are included in the exam. Okay. Chapter 4 questions. Number 1, discuss how similar are Carton and Darnay in appearance and how different they are in character. In fact, Charles Darnay and Sydney Carton were typical in appearance. They looked the same, they looked alike. It's just that Carton was a bit carelessly dressed, okay? On the other hand, they were totally different in characters. As we know, Charles Darnay was a successful gentleman. He worked in England as a teacher of the French language and literature. He could make his name in life. He was rich, and he was known as a successful man. On the other hand, Sydney Carton, despite having wonderful and strong powers of mind, he didn't use them for his own good. So he was a failure and he was desperate. He didn't make his name in life. He did the work for the other people. For example, for Mr. Stryver, okay, he earned little money, and Mr. Stryver gained fame, money, and success. If we talk about the theme of despair in the novel, we can mention Sydney Carton because he was hopeless. He didn't even have the motivation to have a new start. And as we know, that his love to Lucy was hopeless too. Question number 2. How far was Carton jealous of Darnay? The reasons for which Carton was jealous of Darnay are so clear. In fact, he was so jealous of him. Number 1, Carton was a failure, but Charles Darnay was a successful man. Carton couldn't make his name in life, but Charles Darnay could make his name in life as a successful gentleman, a successful teacher of the French language and literature. And what was more important, Lucy's love. Carton and Darnay's love to Lucy, as we mentioned before, true, genuine, real, but Darnay's love to Lucy was possible because it was mutual. What do we mean by the word mutual? It was exchanged between Lucy and Darnay. Darnay loved Lucy and Lucy loved Darnay. But Carton's real and true love to Lucy was hopeless because he was aware of his fact as a failure, and it was impossible for him to marry Lucy Manor. If it were not for Charles Darnay's love and existence, he couldn't marry Lucy, because if he married her, he would drag her down because of his failure. Okay, so Carton was jealous of Darnay because Darnay was successful, but he was a failure, and Lucy Manor loved Charles Darnay, but she didn't love him. Their love and marriage were possible, but Carton's love to Lucy was hopeless. Okay. Let's move on to the third question. Carton always played the role of the jackal. Discuss. What is the jackal? Have you got any idea about the meaning of the word jackal?
A type of animal.
Yes, you're right. A type of animal which is of the same classification of a fox. And sometimes we use the word jackal to describe the fox itself, or to name the fox itself. Okay. Right. Have you given this question a thought? Do you know the answer?
He failed in his life, and he was assistant of Mr. Stryver.
Yes. Okay. Carton, as we said before, had strong powers of mind. He was very clever, and we can give him or talk about him as an example of professionalism. As a lawyer, he was a professional lawyer who was intelligent enough to solve all the mysteries and prepare the cases quite well. So he worked hard, cleverly, okay, behind. And Mr. Stryker was the person who gained fame, success, and fortune, as we said before. Okay? This is why he was the Jekyll, because he was very intelligent, very clever, very skillful and professional, and he managed to make Mr. Stryker a famous man. Number 4, what would happen if A, Carton didn't save Darnay? What would happen? Let me remind you that Darnay was accused of being a spy. So what would happen to Darnay if Carton didn't save him?
Lucy would fall in love with Carton, not Darnay.
Maybe, yes. What would happen to Darnay?
Darnay's life will stop and will enter prison.
In fact, not only prison, he would be executed. To understand, he would be killed. Because the punishment of being a spy was execution, being killed. So both your answers are right. If Carton didn't save Darnay, Darnay would certainly be killed or executed, and Carton might have a hope that Lucy might give him attention. But still remember that Carton was a failure, okay? And exchanging love was with Carton was not guaranteed. Let's move on to B. What would happen if Lucy paid more attention to Carton? What would happen? Think about it.
Carton's life will change and Darnay will be jealous of Carton.
Excellent. May I know your name?
Muhammad Khalid.
Yes. In which class are you, Muhammad?
Prep3.
Wonderful. Excellent. In fact, if Lucy paid more attention to Carton, he would have the motivation to prove himself in life, okay? He would have the motivation to have a new start, to be successful, to have a new beginning and use his own powers of mind for his own good. He would try to prove himself and be suitable for her. So your answer is wonderful. Let's move on to the last one. What would happen if Stryver were fair enough with Carton? Miss, why did we say what would happen if Stryver were fair enough? Stryver is singular and we should say Stryver was fair enough. This is a situation which we call an imaginary situation, okay? Conditionals, if in an imaginary situation, in that case only, which is an exception, we can use were instead of was with singular subjects, okay? So this is not a mistake and this is not strange, it's an exception, it's a rule. Let's go back to the real, to the answer. What would happen if Stryver were fair enough with Carton?
Carton would be successful in life, and maybe Lucy would give him more attention, and he would have an aim in his life, maybe.
Yes, you're right. Your answer is perfect. If this happened, okay, Sydney Carton would not be that much poor. He would be successful. He would get a benefit of his powers of mind, and he would have a good name in life, and maybe Lucy might pay attention to him, okay? I want to tell you something concerning answers of questions based on the novel. You have to give the precise information given to you. It's not the matter of writing too much or writing very little. It's the matter of giving the information needed, okay? Let's move on to the following section or part, which is revision on chapter 6 and 7. Number 1, the careless driving of the rich reflected the noble's attitude towards the poor. Explain. What do we mean by attitude? Have you got any idea what the meaning is?
The way they treat the poor and the way they talk to them.
Okay, I'm talking about the meaning of the word attitude itself. Okay.
Morals.
Yeah, okay. Attitude means a person's beliefs about something or somebody, a person's behavior with something or somebody, the way a person thinks about something or somebody. Okay, so the careless driving of the rich reflected the noble's way of thinking about the poor, the way of regarding the poor. Okay, okay. Can you give me the answer? Can you give me the answer? Okay, we're going to use the example of the Marquis agreement and Gaspard's son's death accident. We will start this way and say that the rich drove all along the streets of Paris so fast. They didn't care about the innocent lives of the poor or their children. In fact, they felt happy when they saw the poor people in front of their carriages scattered. They feel happy when they see them afraid of being hurt. This satisfies, okay, the rich people. They didn't care about the souls of the poor. A very evident example is, or clear example is, Gaspard's son's death. The Marquis agreement carriage was going so fast and it ran over the little body of Gaspard's son. When Gaspard's son died on the wheels of the Marquis agreement carriage, okay, the Marquis agreement didn't care about this innocent soul. He behaved in the way of a person who broke something and was just paying for it. In fact, the nobles considered the poor inferior to them. They considered them rats. The Marquis agreement blamed the poor for not being careful about their lives and their children's lives. Okay? And he threw just a coin to Gaspard as a kind of compensation, as if he broke something and he was paying for it. But in fact, he was worried about his horses and that they might be hurt. So the careless driving proves that the nobles considered the poor inferior to them, just animals or rats. Okay? Number 2, it's unbelievable to me that you people can take care of yourselves and your children. Comment. Who can comment on this quotation?
The Marquis said that to the poor people when he crashed the little boy and killed him.
Okay, the Marquis Avremont said that. Yes, to the people who.
To Monsieur Defarge.
Okay, to all of them. Okay, to the people who gathered after Gaspard's son's accident, including Gaspard. Okay, so he said so to the people, to the poor, to Gaspard and the people who witnessed the death of Gaspard's son under the wheels of the Marquis Avremont's carriage. Okay, like what does this show you about the Marquis?
This shows the cruelty, oppression, and injustice of the Marquis, and how they didn't care about the poor, and how badly they treated them, and what else? Um, and how he cared more about his courage, and he didn't care about the innocent lives that he took.
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, this shows that the Marquis Evermond, okay, consider the poor people as inferior, as animals. He didn't care about their innocent souls, okay, and he just considered that he had broken something and he paid for it, okay. And this gives an indication to the overall attitude of the nobles at that time towards the poor. 3. Monsieur de Varges' words were misunderstood by the Marquis. Explain. Who can explain? Where are the others? I need more participation. Who knows?
The Marquis,
Yes.
the Marquis thought that Monsieur de Varges' words was to I don't know how to say it, was to the Marquis thought that Monsieur de Varges was on his side and was trying to calm down Gaspard, and to tell him that that it was maybe better for him to die than to live in a world of injustice and misery and ruin.
Yes. Excellent, Ali. Wonderful. Do you have anything else to add? Okay.
And it's better to take maybe the gold coins than to get angry, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. First of all, we have to not mention them exactly, and just talk about Monsieur de Varges' words to Gaspard. Okay. Yeah, we would say that Monsieur de Varges told Gaspard to be courageous or to be brave, and he told him that his child died quickly with no pain, but if he survived, he would suffer pain. Meaning what? The oppression, injustice, and cruelty the people suffer. At that moment, the Marquis Evermond thought that Monsieur de Varges was talking on his behalf, yani was taking his own side. He thought that Monsieur de Varges was defending the Marquis. So he described him as a wise man and asked him about his trade, his job. Then he threw a gold coin to Monsieur de Varges as a kind of reward for supporting him. Okay, let's move on to number 4. You're crazy. He was probably a thief and you said nothing. Go away. Comment. Who said this?
The Marquis said that to the roadmender when he saw Gaspard hanging up in the carriage of the Marquis.
Excellent. Are you Muhammad Khalid?
Yes.
Okay. That's right. The Marquis Evermond said that to a road mender who the Marquis had seen at the top of the hill. And he was watching or staring at the carriage closely. Okay. When the carriage went down the hill, the Marquis Evermond saw the road mender again and asked him about the reason for which he was staring at the carriage. The road mender said that he saw a man who was tall and who was covered in dust, describing him as a ghost. That man was holding onto the Marquis Evermond and he disappeared holding onto the Marquis Evermond's carriage. And he disappeared the moment the carriage reached the village. Okay. The Marquis Evermond asked him if he knew that person, because the road mender knew everybody in the area. The road mender said no, he was not one of the people who lived there. So the Marquis Evermond supposed that he was a thief and ordered Monsieur Gabelle to arrest him whenever he sees them. Okay. Number 5. The land shared the poor villagers their misery. Explain. this question talks about the way the land and the crops were during this era or period of time, let's say. The answer is found in your book in very few lines. Can you give me the answer? Okay, the land was very poor and the crops were not so many and they were very weak. Okay, same to the land and the poor crops. The people were poor because they had to pay a lot of taxes. The local tax, the general tax, tax for the land that they didn't own, and tax for the church, and so on. So the little money they had, okay, in return of their work was not enough for their living, as they had to pay a lot of taxes. So this is the way the land and the crops were so poor, okay, and weak, and the poor people lived or suffered extreme poverty, okay? Let's move on to chapter 7. Darnay and his uncle contrasted each other. Explain. What do we mean by the word contrasted? They had contrasting ideas, okay? Opposing ways of thinking and so on. Can you give me the answer?
Because Darnay thought that the behavior of the Marquis and his family was wrong against the poor, and the Marquis thought that this behavior gives him power, and the poor, afraid of him, makes him powerful, and the money that he takes from the poor makes him more powerful, and he loves the poor's misery.
Yes, that's right, Ibrahim. طيب يبقى Darnay and his uncle contrasted each other because Darnay believed that his family name, property, money, and possession, all of them were built on mismanagement, oppression, cruelty, injustice, and violence. And he believed that if this possession passes to him, he would give it to somebody who would return the rights back to the poor. Following his mother's last request in her deathbed, when she asked him to return the rights back to the poor, okay, and correct the wrongs that his father had done. He also believed that the name of the Abramus family was hated by the poor. On the other hand, the Marquis Abraman thought that being hated means that they were respected. Okay? He thought that having the power over the poor was something that would give them pride and respect. And he believed that what they had, their possessions, property, and so on, okay, were their own rights, not the poor people's rights. Okay, and he reminded Darnay that this property and possession were not his, not yet, because the Marquis Evermont was still alive and he was Darnay's uncle. Number 2, Darnay's mother had strong influence upon him. Illustrate. The word illustrate means explain or show. Let me revise the meanings of questions. When we say explain, we want you to show how in words. When we say illustrate, you have to explain. And if you give an example, this would be wonderful. If you say justify, this means that you have to give a reason for something. If you say discuss, this means that you have to explain something. If you say infer, have you got any idea about the meaning of the word infer?
No.
Think about something, try to know something, guess something. Okay? guess it, deduce it, try to know it. Okay, right.
Okay.
Number 2, Darnay's mother had strong influence upon him. Illustrate.
As Darnay wanted to fulfill his mother's promise, as she told him to be kind to the poor, so and to be kind to the poor and repair what's done wrong by his family. So he tried to be kind to the poor and give them what they deserve, and he changed his name and went to live in England and worked as a French teacher.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Charles Darnay, okay, decided to follow his mother's last request in her deathbed when she asked him to correct the wrongs his father did and return the rights back to the poor. He had the same belief that his mother had, that all the family name, property, possession, and power were always built on Rayon's mismanagement, oppression, cruelty, injustice, and so on. So he decided if this property and possession passes to him, he would give it up to a person who would return the rights back to the poor, following his mother's last request. His mother even affected his own belief. Okay. Number 3, sleep well, light Monsieur to his room, and burn him in his bed if you like. Comment. Who said that?
The Marquis said that to his servant when he was leading Darnay to his bed to sleep.
Yes. So why did he say so?
Because he was angry with Darnay and he didn't love him at all.
Okay. The first part of the quotation was said by Marquis Everman to his servant when he asked him to accompany Darnay to his room after their meeting. The second part of the quotation, the Marquis said these words to himself. He wished if his servant would burn Darnay in his bed. The Marquis Everman wanted to get rid of Charles Darnay because despite being his nephew, yani his brother's son, okay, he adopted different attitudes and ideas. He wanted to get rid of Darnay because he believed that he should return the rights back to the people. So all the Everman's family's possession and property would be returned back to the poor if they were Darnay's. Okay, so he wanted to get rid of Darnay so that the Everman's family would go on with the same beliefs and the same power and so on, so on, so on. Okay. Number 4, revenge appears when justice disappears. Explain, giving an example.
As
This
when the Marquis,
Okay, two of you were trying to talk at the same time, right?
yes,
I want to hear both of you. So when the first one finishes, I'd like to listen to the second one. Okay, go ahead. Start. One of you should talk. I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
I have 10 minutes left, so talk.
Can I answer?
Yes, go ahead.
When the Marquis killed the boy, Gaspard went to his house and killed the Marquis with a knife.
Okay. Okay. Who wants to add? Who else wants to talk?
When the Marquis hit the boy of Gaspard, he didn't give him his justice. He threw at him a coin.
Yes. You're right. Huh?
بدل الصن يعني.
Okay, try to say it in English. Okay. Does anybody want to add?
Yeah.
When the Marquis threw the coin for Gaspard, he thought that he paid for the death of the child, and he didn't think still that Gaspard will take the coin and forget his child. But Gaspard wanted to take revenge from the Marquis, so he hanged on the chains of the carriage and killed him in his bed.
Yes, you're right. Thank you.
I have a different perspective, I want to say.
Okay,
Um,
please.
that 1 second. That when the nobles' power was when the nobles weren't that strong, the poor common French people were filled with hatred and searched for revenge. So they went and killed all of the nobles and others related to them, even if they were just their servants.
Yes. Okay.
Is this right? No.
Yes. Yes. Okay. You're wonderful guys. Okay. We're going to provide two examples here. The first example is Gaspard and the Marquis murder. The Marquis or Gaspard's son died under the wheels of the Marquis Everland's carriage, and the Marquis was not punished for this. He just threw a gold coin to Gaspard, and nobody blamed him for the death of the innocent child. Since there was no justice and the Marquis was not punished for the death of the child, Gaspard decided to take revenge for his son's death, and he murdered the Marquis by driving a knife into his heart, okay, with a paper around the handle saying, "Drive him fast to his grave, this is from the Jack." The other example is the poor people in France, the poor and the peasants. They were badly treated. They led a miserable life. They suffered from the oppression and cruelty of the poor, and nobody would stop the poor. Nobody stopped the poor, stopped the nobles or even punished them for these awful deeds. So the poor people were preparing for the revolution as a kind of revenge. Okay, and you will see that after the breaking out of the revolution, they will be bloodthirsty. Okay, so revenge here was represented by the secret word for the breaking out of the revolution. Okay, we don't have much time, but I'd like to listen to you. If you have any other questions concerning any branch of English, I'm ready to receive your questions. Huh? If you have any question, ask me before our time is over. Did you benefit from the session? Do you find it useful?
Yes.
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 Okay. Do you have any question to ask about anything, including or related to English A-level, including O-level? Okay. Do you have any question to ask about?
The word criteria, I don't understand it well.
Okay, criteria. Criteria means levels or standards for judging something. For example, if I am going to choose one of you, okay, to help me in presenting the school in English, what would my criteria be? He should have wonderful pronunciation. He should have fluency. He should be able to express his own thoughts clearly. So I test some students and compare their abilities to these standards or levels I am comparing to. This is my criteria. These are my criteria, sorry. Criterion is the singular of it. One level or one standard, okay, for evaluating something. Criteria is the plural, more than one level or standard. Do you understand?
Yes, yeah.
Do you need me to
Miss-
give you another example? Yes, go ahead.
No,
What
no.
is the meaning of the top of the mountain?
Summit. The top of the mountain is a summit. But you have to stick to the word list you have in your revision sheets. Okay?
أصل ده كان في ريفيجن شيت المدرسة.
Okay, okay, it's a summit.
Mm.
Summit. SUMMIT. Any other questions? The top
Miss
one.
هو
Yes.
في English A level can we use the future ولا present continuous بس؟
English A level, future or present continuous, it depends on the question. You might use future, you might use present continuous, present simple, past continuous, according to the question. Are you asking about the items included in grammar?
عشان مش مكتوب future.
In grammar, they are found, يا حبيبي, in your revision sheets. Present simple, continuous, adverbs of frequency, stated verbs, past simple used to, past continuous, during, present perfect simple, both, neither, all, none.
Miss,
Huh?
what is the meaning of mindfulness?
This is found in your O-level book, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you are a person who have important thoughts and ideas to think about, okay, and you need some time to be with yourself isolated, okay, تمام? You have some time of mindfulness in it. You don't think about anything, you just relax, you just concentrate on nothing so that you let your brain rest, you understand, and have some peace of mind.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Do you understand the meaning or not?
Yes.
Something which is similar to yoga, I believe. Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, in all cases, I'm not sure when it's gonna be over. So I wish you best of luck. And I remind you, it's not how much you write, it's the precise information you get. Okay? Concerning the writing, طبعا opinion essay and then narrative writing, طبعا you have to stick to the form, 4 paragraphs, what to write in the first, second, and so on. Write at least 4 lines in each paragraph. Anything else to ask about? Anything else to ask about? Okay, I will have to end. Wish you best of luck. Bye. See you.
Goodbye.